But this from the New York Times just yesterday, Christianity's decline in U.S. appears to have halted, major study shows. And then one of the reasons they're giving for this, we have here, young people contributed to the shift. If you're a young white male these days and you think of yourself as conservative, then being religious is a part of that. So they're connecting it to political trends. But what I wanted to take a look at was down here, this chart. So we can see, everyone, you've got, so this is the decline of Christianity in the U.S. may have stopped. Downward trend started to slow around 2019. So you've got this going back to 2007. And you'll notice that the number of people who identify as Christian is close to 80%, just going back fewer than 2 decades. And that number slowly declines. That number slowly declines over time. And so, what do we got here? 78%, 77, 76, 75, keeps dropping. Then we have a big drop right around 2018. So it goes from 67 down to 63. And then after that, though, so after 2019, then there's a little jump, and then the trend continues downward. And then for the past couple years, there's been an increase. So it bottomed out at 60% of people identifying as Christian, and then 62%, and now 63% as of 2024. And then over here, of course, we have the religiously unaffiliated, and that was just 16%, just 16% in 2007. And that slowly increases. So it goes to 19, 20, 24, 25, 28, all the way up to 30 there. So basically doubles. And then interestingly, now it's leveling off and dropping off a bit. So it goes from 31 to 28 to 29 to 28, but is not increasing as we saw for basically 2 decades. So pretty interesting stuff there. And I found it interesting just because you guys had sent me your study from the UK. And even though they're talking about different reasons and so on, very similar results that I would not have expected if you had asked me what's going on. Now, I was expecting it in the future because I was expecting the sort of new atheism to be bottoming out. I started sensing it a couple of years ago when it was almost like they'd made all their predictions back in the early 2000s, and it was, hey, if we just get millions of people to leave Christianity, then, we're going to become more scientific and more enlightened, and we're going to get smarter, and everything's going to get better, and the world's going to get better, and then everyone's going to see it, and then more people are going to want to become atheists because they see that atheism is doing everything better. And it was almost put forward like that, like, hey, join us, and the world's going to become a better place. And well, you've had a couple of decades of that now. Millions of young people became atheists over that time. And how has the world been improving at all? Which of your predictions has come true? And as far as I can tell, none of them. Like nothing. I haven't seen any noticeable way in that the world is better over these 20 years of the new atheism. I still can't figure out, and I asked this, and I still haven't seen any way that the world has improved by all these people becoming atheist. And I think other people are sort of getting the same vibe. Like what you guys said was going to happen just didn't happen. Nothing got better. In fact, if anything, it looks like things are getting worse. So how's that work? And so I think lots of people are in that situation. Anyway, a couple months ago, I made a video titled something like The Future of Atheism. And I don't know if you want to give your age, Christopher, but what sort of realm are you in?
I'm 58, which I think is sort of peak age for atheism.
Oh, yeah, nice, very nice, very nice. Yeah, so I'm 49, but you're old enough to remember atheists and atheism before the new atheism. I tell people this. I say I was an atheist in the 1990s, and there were not a lot of other atheists around in the 1990s. In the U.S., would have been more common in the UK, but I tell people like back then, atheists tended to not be very aggressive. They didn't seem to care a whole lot about what other people believe. They seemed to think it was good that religious people believed in religion. Like that's going to help them. Like, hey, it's good. I don't believe in that stuff, but hey, it's good that you believe in that stuff. That's fine. And then it was like after Dawkins and Co. took over the train, that's when it.
Well, I would say really it was after 9/11 that in 9/11 was the thing which I think really inspired Dawkins, and that event gave atheists as the excuse to become much more active than they had previously been. And you could certainly look at this and say, yeah, religion is not doing a good thing in this particular in this world here. Let's make a big case for it. So I think that people who were in their 20s and 30s at that time, looked at 9/11, looked at these new atheist books, and thought, yeah, maybe they're right. And I think that's what sort of built it up. And since then, I think that actually it's moved more back to the sort of natural rhythm of things. That people do believe that there's something bigger than themselves that matters in this world. And, atheism can't explain that feeling. But Christianity and, other religions, do seem to talk to that more effectively than atheism. And I think that's why sort of atheism has peaked, and particularly, the people, the Gen Zs and the millennials, have been less influenced by the new atheists than those who grew up, through 9/11.
And so my prediction as far as the future is concerned, now that basically everything they said was going to happen as a result of tons of people becoming atheists, none of it actually came true. It didn't seem to improve the world in the way they thought it would. My prediction is that lots of atheists who, I mean, you've always had atheists who don't care a whole lot about what other people believe, and so they get along really well with other people, and they're not like the aggressive in your face. You have to bunch of religiotards with your sky daddy, that kind. So my idea is that the ones who became like that, the ones who became these aggressive, yelling sky daddy and stuff at you, I think some of those are going to go back to the way atheists sort of used to be. Back before they were like, everyone has to agree with us and we have to basically become an evangelical version of atheism where we try to convert the entire world. I think they're going to go back to just, all right, we're atheists, and if you believe something else, that's fine. I think some of the atheists are going to do that. I think you're also going to have some atheists, which I've already seen, who basically abandon atheism and just, this didn't work out, this didn't help, and I'm going to become something else now. I've seen a number of atheists leaving atheism and becoming Christians. And then I think a third group would be some of the young people who grew up during the heyday of the new atheism, where it was just really fun to go around saying, we're smart and everyone else is dumb, and we're the smart group and you're the dumb group. I think you're going to have some atheists who try to cling back to those glory days of the new atheism. Just because I see those on YouTube, like they're struggling for relevance now in a world that's kind of losing interest in their claims. But anyway, I think you're going to have those three groups. But anyway, I think it's going to be better.
I mean, I think our study gives some interesting insights into what you've just said, in that, we actually asked sort of two questions. First, the sort of Pew type research that you just said, what are you? A Christian, Muslim, Hindu, atheist, what have you? And then we asked them sort of essentially how religious they were. And, the bottom end of things we had, I'm an atheist, then I culturally associate with a religion, but I don't believe in God. And then we have, I'm not sure what I believe. And then we had, I associate with a religion, but I don't but I have my own ideas of God, and the next thing was, I occasionally attend worship, but I have my own ideas of God. I worship regularly, but I don't follow the leadership of my religion in everything. And finally, I worship regularly and I follow the leadership of my religion in everything. And the thing which I found most strange was some of the people who said, ticked the box saying they were atheists in the first question, when it was compared to other religions, then ticked, I worship regularly and follow the authority of the leaders of my religion, and some of them, who said, is an end. I'd say I can't remember the actual percentage, but about 15% of atheists seem to actually have some belief in God, which may have been sort of unorthodox, and then some of the people who tick the box saying they were Christian, when asked, how, or indeed Muslim or whatever, they then ticked the box saying they're atheist in the next question, which is a bit puzzling. And I think that what it says to me, and when you look at also, we ask a question, how spiritual are you? Very, fairly, a little, not at all. A number of the atheists were saying they felt very spiritual or fairly spiritual, and so what I see is it's a sort of much more graded world that we live in, where actually everyone is struggling with these questions of sort of meaning and purpose and morality and things like this, and some of them feel that they can say that they're an atheist, but actually, beneath the surface, they have much more mixed feelings about this. And, others who might say that they are, religious, beneath that surface also have mixed feelings, because it is, it's a genuine puzzle, as we saying that, every Sunday, this is the mystery of our faith. I mean, this is the way that it goes.
So, Belief in Britain, a look at into the religious and spiritual landscape of the nation. And hey, that's you there. So, introduction, I commissioned the poll. 10,000 Brits representing the full breadth of religious and spiritual backgrounds across the country to help promote the Devil's Gospels, Finding God, and 4 great atheist books. All right, well, this is what I wanted to check out, the key findings. So the key findings here are young people are both more spiritual and more religious than older people. That would be the one that is most surprising to most people when they hear it. They also report becoming more spiritual and more religious in the past 5 years. That's interesting as well. But it's something I've kind of noticed as well, this shift over the past couple of years. But I didn't expect it to be this decisive as far as like polling. 2, atheism appears to be most popular among people in the 40s and 50s. Younger people seem less interested. Also surprising. You would have expected atheism to be most popular among the youngest people. And it's not. Interesting stuff. And then 3, nevertheless, Britons young and old are highly critical of religion and pessimistic about its outlook. So if you were just looking at 1 or 2, you might be thinking, Britain's in the middle of a revival and people are becoming Christian. And not so fast. All right, so what do you so we've got a ton of stuff in this study. What did you want to sort of zero in on?
Let's go to sort of some of the charts. So scroll down to let's get to the first chart that we can sort of see, because
the charts are a good place.
More interesting for the so that's just showing what the way that people. I mean, that's a bit of a misleading chart, because we got the
that's where you have the overlap where people are in multiple categories.
Yeah, we asked them 2 questions. One question of how much they engage with religion. Mm-hmm. And we got sort of 30% non-believers and 40% uncommitted and 17% who worship regularly. The rest, were sort of prefer not to say types.
Yeah, and I remember this whole
question about.
No, I remember this whole I'm spiritual but not religious. I remember I remember that trend started. That was like 20 years ago, and you kept hearing it from actors and actresses on talk shows. So the actress would go on Oprah, and then they would say, "Oh, so what's tell us your religious beliefs." And over again, they would say the exact same thing. They would all go, "Well, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual." And anyway, so
Yeah.
that was a trend that's been going on for a while.
So yeah, here you can see the sort of non-believers. 34%. Those are the sort of atheists. So that's the Gen X people. That's me and you, I think. Which is probably why we're both here today. I mean, if we weren't so sort of stirred up by the concept of atheism, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. But
yeah, if we were Gen Z, we just wouldn't care, apparently.
Absolutely, it wouldn't cross our mind to be talking about this now. And similarly, if we were in our 80s, we probably wouldn't really see this as an interesting thing. And then we got the sort of religious bit at the bottom there, saying Gen Z at 28%, and the boomers. It's interesting that they are the least religious.
That's very interesting.
Group in Britain. I wonder whether, if one were to sort of get into the weeds a bit, I mean, of America, that one might also find that this, the boomer generation, because of all these sort of personal freedoms and other, challenging sort of social norms and so forth, which they did in their youth, whether it didn't also have an effect on the way that they believed in America. And as you can see, the spiritualism is, or how spiritual you feel, is something that definitely declines with age. So, I think we defined spiritual as do you feel that there's something bigger than yourself that matters in the world and in life, and that's that. I mean, it's one of these things. One feels that they're just sort of slightly waiting for God, where they have that shaped hole in their heart that they're looking for. But at the same time, one has to accept there's some people who are just completely unmoved. They are just materialists. They only believe in the sort of physical and material things that might matter, and those people are probably quite difficult to reach with religion. But anyway, let's scroll down and look at some other charts.
Oh, I just wanted people to really pay attention to those bottom two charts there. That's interesting. So, guys, you see as far as people who identify as religious, consider themselves religious. Look, the boomers, 11%. 11%. So, wow. And then, but Gen Z, so the young people, they're almost 3 times higher.
Yeah.
Which again, if I never seen this, if you had asked me a couple weeks ago before I ever saw this, what to expect, I would have kind of expected the reverse of that. I would expected the boomers to be around, 28, 30% or something like that, and Gen Z to be like 11% or something. And then in the spiritual category, then all of a sudden you're talking well over half of Gen Z consider themselves spiritual and so on. So interesting stuff.